afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is my AML crew. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just making sure, because remember last week, Miguel said there were quite a few classes and he didn't want us to cross over. So I was just making sure. All right, how's everybody?
Hi, agreed.
Yeah, okay.
Tired.
Tired. Okay. I saw things were coming in. Hold on, where did it go? And I saw some people made some attempts. But looking at the number of participants in this class, it should have been more. All right, so you would have noticed that the first part of the question more or less pertains to Unit 8. Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I need someone to say in their own words, what is recommendation 1 about? And what is required?
I'll make an attempt. Okay, go ahead. Someone else said something.
Pretty much it just requires countries to ensure that their financial institutions follow a risk-based approach in a nutshell, and that they should have a regulatory body that governs this and ensures that this risk-based approach is executed.
Okay, so in interpreting that in regard to the question, now don't forget now, it has a quotation at the top. What does that mean when you interpret that for the Bahamas?
We would need to speak about which regulatory body is responsible for ensuring this.
Yes, that'll be the first step. What else?
And then I guess define what a risk-based approach is, give the pros and cons of it.
I'm reading Sophie's.
I'm trying to get on my laptop to pull up.
Okay, go ahead. I'm reading Sophia's paper, which was the last to come in. Is she on?
Sorry, I'm not Sophia, but yeah, I guess looking at the legislations that have been put in place as well, or regulations put in place by the Bahamian government, pertaining to risk-based approaches that needs to be complied by financial institutions. I guess it's something that needs to look at as well.
That's why, now you see why I want to see what you write, because I need to see how you put that in writing. Hold on, let me see. Sophia isn't on. Who else sent me one? Because I have quite a bit of emails.
I did, Felicia.
Felicia, okay, hold on.
P. Renee B would be the email address.
P. Felicia Renee?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Oh God, guess where it's going. I got it.
Ebony Kennedy also sent an attempt.
Okay, hold on. Let me just do one at a time. Okay. Okay, so looking at how you start, Felicia. First sentence.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm reading. As I'm reading, I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. I'm still trying to pull my own up on the laptop.
Okay, pull it up, pull it up. I'm on your page 2. And you haven't started to answer the question yet. You said the same thing 3 times in 3 different ways. Look at what you wrote. Look at the question again.
It's opening right now.
Okay. So for those whose papers I haven't looked at yet, listen while Felicia is looking at what she wrote. It says countries should identify, assess, and understand the money laundering and terrorist financing risk for the country and should take action, including designating an authority or mechanism to coordinate actions to assess risk and apply resources aimed at ensuring the risks are mitigated effectively. Based on that assessment, countries should apply a risk-based approach to ensure that measures to prevent or mitigate money laundering are commensurate with the risk identified. That's the quote. Then it asks you a question. In the context of the FATF statement and recommendation 1, explain the benefits and the challenges associated with the implementation of a risk-based approach. So Felicia, you see your first 2 pages? Your first 2 pages, you still haven't addressed recommendation 1.
So the piece, what I put in the introduction about that,
Where? Tell me where.
line 4.
From the very beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
No, that's not enough.
No, I know it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it in there so that I can try and get it to flow in, but I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
Well, I spoke about the regulators.
You got to talk about things before you get there.
So I need to 1, 2. Okay, so down at the bottom of 2 and on to 3. I need to move this up further then.
The part where you start with countries
Yes, ma'am.
should require financial institution to identify and assess.
Yes, ma'am.
That can stay. But the part before there.
So what I'm saying is, so where this one with countries and where it goes down, where you could see where I starting to get into the recommendation. What I'm saying, if I should move this higher up.
No, no. What you've written before that, you actually need to show the examiner what recommendation 1 is all about. And how do you do that?
by explaining and giving an example.
And what's the example you're gonna give?
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. Now, if you look right here where I made a point that I was going to put an example there. So I'm saying if I need to move.
No. That ain't what you wanna write. That's
What
not
isn't what I want to write?
what your example, no. It says in A1, in the context of the statement, they want you to explain the benefits and the challenges. So how do you get to write about benefits and challenges if you have not explained to the examiner what the country has done?
So in other words, your example would be basically looking at national risk assessment and what the Bahamas
Yes.
have done to be able to identify it, and then how they
Yes.
assessed it, what methods they use to assess the,
Yes.
okay,
Okay, so back to what
Gotcha.
I'm saying, right here where I was going to speak about the risk assessment further down. So that's why I was asking if I should take these further up. You see straight down to the bottom in red?
Where you have list benefit, list challenges. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's at the top. That's at the top.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to ask you. So I need to move this point further up to the top then.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's why I wasn't understanding. So
Yeah.
everything else that I have there is fine, but I just need to take this risk assessment further to the top.
Yeah, that first part, unless you weaving that in as the first 2 pages as some example of what the steering committee did, then I don't see, you see, because you have to explain what we did as a country.
Right,
Because the benefits and the challenges is going to come from what we have done. And you add to that the challenges and experience that the documents that they're footnoted in chapter 8, you have to read those to see what are the benefits and the challenges that other countries face or are still facing
okay,
in comparison to us.
okay. But of course, some of this I wrote, it's going to have to be omitted due to my word count. So once I start adding more, I'll be able to blend everything in.
Okay, all
But
right.
I just trying to get from you if, okay, so I realized you didn't see what I wrote to the bottom. Okay, so now it makes sense then. You almost had me feeling I'd start over.
No, well, you have to start with the national risk assessment.
Okay, so put that to the top. Okay, thank you.
That goes at the top.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, who's the next one?
Ebony Colby.
Okay, hold on.
Now, if listening to what your response to Felicia, I already took some notes. But
Okay, hold on. When did you send yours?
this afternoon,
Okay, hold
after
on. I need to go
one,
to-
maybe two.
Okay, I see it. And remember, you already have word count. So I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't even start with the first sentence.
Okay, okay.
Okay, the second paragraph where you speaks to what the FATF recommendation 1 is,
Uh-huh.
I let it stay where it is now. But when you do other drafts, I need you to weave that into the national risk assessment approach by the Bahamas.
Okay,
Because the reason why the Bahamas did the national risk assessment was to comply with recommendation 1, right? So you have to learn to weave these principles and recommendations into the actual practice that was carried out.
Okay.
You got the benefits too quick.
Okay,
You haven't explained what we did. You haven't explained who is the body. You haven't explained who is the sub-body.
okay.
right? So, you know, we change our legislation. When we changed it, we put in the committee that deals with national risk assessment. And I think we had one risk assessment, and then we had a update to that risk assessment.
Okay,
And then from the risk assessment, depending on the sector, you have another regulatory body. And that regulatory body then uses the findings from the national risk assessment to its registrants
okay,
and carrying out its risk-based approach. It gives them a guidance. So what the
Okay.
examiner is looking for is for you to be able to take a holistic approach. They're looking to see, you know, that internationally, there is the FATF at the top. From the FATF, then it goes to the actual country. In the country should have a national body that assessed all of the risk within that country. And from there, the regulator, based on its industry or sector, then would take from that what's relevant to their business and their registrants. Now,
okay,
so another thing I want you to be mindful of, when you speak about a particular sector, you have to go outside of the manual. The examiner is looking to see if you are well read.
okay,
So it depends on the sector that you're in. You need to do more research to see the risk-based approach and the benefits and the challenges.
Talk about this later. Lock the door, baby.
Can you repeat that last part again? There was some crossing up, sorry.
Oh, now I already forget. What did I say? You gotta
Okay.
listen. Hold on. What was I talking about?
You had
Something
said
about
that we need to go beyond the manual to
Yes.
determine
Yeah, I
about
heard that part, and then,
Right. So it depends on the sector. You have to go further because it's not looking just for the challenges and the benefits that like are glaring. They want you to go deeper. Because don't forget now, you're aiming to get a certification as a professional. And so what gives you a better mark is when you're able to think outside of the box and you're able to validate that with examples from another jurisdiction.
yes, ma'am.
What's your word count so far?
This is only a quick draft. I think this
I
is
know.
about 300.
So when I look at your benefits and your challenges, now you're going to go and explain each one.
Okay. So I say what it is, and then provide details regarding it, more details regarding
Yes,
it.
yes.
Okay.
And when
Okay.
you let me see what they said at the bottom here. Okay. Yeah, you'll have to explain it.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that really helps.
And now notice the keyword like I told you in that. When you finish writing it the first time and you put in your benefits and your challenges, notice the keyword in A1. It asks you about the benefits and the challenges related to implementation.
Yes.
This is not ongoing. This is implementation. So what did that national steering committee have to face when it decided to introduce, yes, risk-based approach across the board in the Bahamas?
Okay.
There are a lot of registrants who were not familiar with it. The financial sector knew. All those other registrants, they needed to learn what that meant. Because remember, all of them didn't have compliance officers. Now you see a lot of them are actually getting compliance officers. That's one of the challenges that they had. How do I now put this into practice in my company.
Understood.
Because that's what the examiner is looking for, to see if you actually understand how, if a recommendation is amended later down when you become a professional, if you know what is required to have it implemented and the impact that it will have on the registrants. Because whenever they're making changes to any of these recommendations, they would actually send it out for comments, public consultation, the way any regulator does it. And they ask for your comments from a jurisdiction. And they don't do it now just to the regulators. They ask the regulators to invite its compliance professionals to provide feedback. So all of this is in training and getting your mind ready as to what's required in the role. Anyone else, Sam? I'm looking down.
I think Sophia says she's on now.
She's on now? Okay, because I had,
What paper you have?
yeah, I looked at Sophia right here. Okay, first thing, Sophia, this is not a marketing or promotional paper. I would not start with that.
Okay.
So where you start, that sentence was as a means of ensuring that the country is safeguarded.
Yeah.
That is where you're supposed to start. But of course, make it an introductory sentence.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
And you can't just jump into the vulnerabilities just like that. You
Okay.
need to speak to what the country did. Now, recall, when the National Risk Assessment was done by us, we were criticized because it should have been done years ago. So make sure you do your research and you do it properly.
Okay.
Don't forget the examiner already knows. He wants to see if you know.
Okay, noted.
Okay. Okay, I see your section go on following, which is good.
Cool.
Mhm. Now, I want you, when you do your research, to see, I want when you do your research, when you speak about the steering committee, I don't know if you can still find communication. Some things may be in the newspaper. You need to see what charge did they send out to the various sectors in terms of telling them what they needed to do and why they needed to do it.
Okay.
Now, when you start with this list, the National AML CFT risk.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
I'll leave it in for now until you do your word count.
Okay.
Now, I noticed I didn't see this in the 3 papers. When you're going to start now to talk about the benefits and the challenges, like I say, you need to speak about the regulator. Because then the regulator tells you the sector that you're going to speak about in terms of your benefits and challenges in implementing it. Or if you're not in a sector, then you're going to have to write your paper from the general comments that was made by the steering committee with regard to the overall results in terms of implementing across the board. You see how after you finish those bullet points,
Mm-hmm.
you start speaking about the strengths and the weaknesses.
Uh-huh.
Examiners like subheadings.
Oh,
It makes the paper clearer.
okay.
And then, like I said earlier, it's very good if you could show the examiner your benefits and your challenges if they are the same or similar to other jurisdictions.
Okay. Noted. I think I have that here.
Okay. Okay, now when you go into where you are employed, how does that tie into implementation?
I was more so speaking along the lines of what happens when the risk assessment is are performed.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't ask you that.
I was trying to show a benefit of it,
Mm.
but if it's not warranted, then I guess I could tweak it.
And another thing, when anyone starts to write, watch your language. I'm looking at the sentence you wrote. Instead of waiting for, you see that sentence?
Yes.
Don't write like that.
Okay.
They don't like that.
Okay.
You get points taken off.
I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Go ahead.
I don't want to know her paper, but can you just give me an idea what the sentence is so we can know what not to do, please? Or some idea.
I can read the sentence because the sentence is just a regular sentence. It's
Okay,
no.
yeah, okay.
Okay. She says, instead of waiting for a crime to occur, comma, measures would have already been in place to aid in mitigation. Instead of waiting for a crime. That's like a Bahamian vernacular. That's the way we know what that means. An English examiner does know. They don't like that.
Okay.
You have to write these things in proper English so that they understand what you are saying. The better your English, the better your marks. And that goes for punctuation too.
Miss Archer, in regards to the part where she mentioned her work experience, could you also tie that in, well, based on the implementation phase, whereas we're in a sector where it was introduced and we had to start doing certain things?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So like she can use, Sophia can use that if she's talking about, like you said, at the very beginning, when you were introduced to do risk assessments. Some people did it automated, some people did it manual. It depends on the size of and the complexity of the organization, what products and services that you offer, how far you need, how deep you need to go in terms of conducting a risk assessment.
Right. So when you speak about the specific sectors, you know, some are very broad, like for example, insurance, but then you would have general insurance and then you would have life insurance.
Narrow it down.
Narrow it. Okay, great.
Narrow it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, narrow it down. I think that's all the papers I got, eh?
Ms. Archer, just
Just had a quick question. So in terms of the question itself, we should be focusing more so on the industry that we are in, then, basically. Our people should be focusing
hold
on.
on now. You could write on any industry if you know enough.
Okay,
You
right.
don't have to.
Okay, right.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Okay. And just for clarification, unfortunately, I wasn't at the last class. I was off the island, but my understanding is that we need to look at the national risk assessment that was conducted.
Yes.
The governing, you would have mentioned the governing body.
Mhm.
And also we need to look at the regulator, I guess, as pertaining to the industry that you're focusing on.
Yes.
Okay, and then you go into the challenges and the pros and the cons.
Yeah, in implementing it. What had to be done? What was required?
Right. Okay.
And
Understood.
then I said to show the examiner that you really understand this. Because you're giving a holistic approach from the top to the bottom. When you speak about your benefits and challenges, if you're able to tell the examiner that in another jurisdiction with similar products and services like your company or like your sector, that they face similar benefits and challenges, then the examiner knows that you understand what the
Right.
recommendation is asking for.
Right. Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. So out of how many persons on this call? 26. How many did I receive? 4. And if I answered David, he wasn't here because David has spoken. That's 5 persons. So what happened to the others?
Good night, Ms. Archer. Ms.
Good
Archer.
night.
Good night. I'm Denisha Smith. I had a death in the family last class, so I was unable to attend.
Okay.
But I was just wondering, just for clarification, what email should we be actually sending it to?
The same one on the
Audra.
yeah. The
Okay.
invite for the meeting, that same one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So you weren't here last week and David wasn't here. And what
No.
I wanted to see your first draft because I want to see your
Okay.
language.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ms.
the language
Archer,
to see.
can we
Yes.
still email it to you maybe like this weekend or so?
Well, we moving on to another part now.
No, that's fine, because for me personally, this week was work is a lot of changes happening. So I was really swamped. I did like pointers and stuff like that, but I didn't do a full draft or anything.
Okay, all right.
So I'm hoping that I can, if I just get a day, I could probably do a complete draft of top to bottom to send to you. But I couldn't do it this week. So I wanted to know if we could send it at a later date.
Yes, you can. You have a small window because I want for next week, I want the draft for part 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna include that in that as well.
I will try to include that as well.
Mhm.
I concur with Alicia.
Okay. So if you look in your book tells you some potential benefits and challenges of the risk-based approach. And it refers to quite a few FATF documents. The FATF guidance on the risk-based approach to combating money laundering, the FATF terrorist financing risk assessments guidance, and the FATF money laundering and terrorist financing risk. So there are some challenges mentioned in here. Has anyone read the Jersey guidance? No? The
No, I
JML?
haven't read that as yet.
No, just
The
practice so
Jersey
far.
guidance.
Yes, it's a very good document. It's big. You can key it in, JM. LSG, prevention of money laundering. And it gives you a very good guidance. And there should be a section there on the risk-based strategy and approach.
What is it again, please?
The
Like I
J as in just, M as in money, L as in long, S as in sugar, G as in game. Prevention of money laundering, combating terrorist financing. It's huge. It comes in 2 volumes.
Okay.
So the same way like how the Securities Commission and the Central Bank have their AML guidelines or rules, this guidance speaks to all of that, but it's much more detailed. And to me, it's simpler to understand. So when you look at the book, notice there's certain things that the examiner should be looking at. One of the challenges that any organization will have when they're trying to introduce a risk-based approach is you have to develop a strategy. And after the strategy, your approach. How are you going to implement this? So the examiner is looking to see there are certain steps that an organization needs to put in place in order to implement. So that's why I say try not to put a lot of words in that are not AML words. Because it trains you for when you have to write reports to the board. You'll have to speak in AML language. You also have to mention the legal obligation that was placed on a company after the risk-based approach. That's another challenge. And then on page 334, it speaks to the benefits of a risk-based approach. So the examiner is not looking for you to lift these 4 bullet points and put them in your paper. He's looking for you to tell him what were the benefits in your jurisdiction. They may be similar, but you cannot use these 4 bullet points verbatim. So we understand A1 now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What? What you going to say, Sophie?
No, I said yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's look at A2. It says what factors should be taken into account in applying an risk-based approach in a specific firm, and what process should be followed when applying the risk-based approach. How are you going to approach that one? What factors should be taken into consideration in applying a risk-based approach?
I think whatever, if in the previous part, you would have spoken specifically to, you would have spoken to a specific sector. In this one, you should, I guess, expand more on that. For instance, if you went into banking or insurance, you would just,
Okay.
I guess, expand more on that and be specific to that sector in your responses.
Okay, I agree with you. That's step 1. Step 2 is, what are those factors?
Well, okay, let's say banking. Some of the factors would be determining the level of risk you want to take in terms of the clients you want to do business with, the jurisdictions you want to do business with, the dollar value, stuff like that. That's what you mean?
This is money laundering now. So you got to think money laundering and risk-based approach.
So the risk-based approach wouldn't involve that? I thought all of that was a part of it, no?
Yeah, but you got to speak money laundering language.
You mean like risk appetite?
Well, that's one thing, yes.
And then looking at the
Oh.
risk assessment, like risk mitigation,
Yes,
looking at the
those
risk
are the kind of
rating.
words they're looking for, yes.
risk rating.
Ah. Okay, okay, okay.
And what process should be followed when applying the risk-based approach? What's the process to be followed? You just told me risk appetite.
So I assume when you're dealing with the risk appetite, you have to look at who will you do business with, what products and services will you have to offer to the, I guess it's based on sector, what products and services will you have to offer, which like the other lady would have said, which jurisdiction, or are we dealing with a PEP or no? Are we dealing with basically I don't know. I just thinking, I don't know.
You know, you can think out loud. That's what brainstorming is about.
Is it that you would do a risk assessment?
I would think before you do a risk assessment, you have to be able to identify
Yeah.
the risk first,
It's before
right?
that. Yeah, it's before risk assessment.
So identify the company's risk appetite. One of the other things is to do research or be knowledgeable of the risks, the inherent risks that's associated with the either country, and then look at the industry as well. So those are risks that come within the territory of doing business in that industry.
Okay,
I think.
stop right there. Stop right there. No. Stop right there.
Oh.
Stop right there. The inherent risk in the industry, you did that in part 1. What the national risk assessment is all about.
Okay.
This is firm Pacific now.
So would this be the where they would bring on auditors?
So
No.
Let me ask, will it be whereby, I guess, what controls or what ways did the firm implemented to try to, I guess, mitigate the risk?
No.
Like once they would have,
I don't know.
I mean, like once you would have identified a risk and assess it, what controls you put in place, and then you risk rate it, right?
Yes.
Oh Lord.
I'm
missing something.
Ms. Archer, enlighten me, please. I don't.
No, I'm not doing no enlightenment until you answer the question and send it to me. I need you to think.
So in other words, you do our own research.
Yes.
Okay.
And you come back.
But Ms. Archer, okay, because
You're getting there. You're getting there. That's why I say brainstorm. You've read chapter 8. What's that process to apply a risk-based approach?
The risk framework?
Yes. What's involved in a risk framework? Each one of you, I've said a piece of
the risk.
Identifying, assessing.
Of the risk.
Exactly.
Oh, but people saying that.
I said y'all said it in pieces.
Hold on, come again.
Oh. Oh.
Say it again, please, Dr.
So what you're doing is you're looking at the risk that the company is exposed to in its business. And its business means its products, its services, its customers. So you have to analyze your risk. You have to evaluate it. You have to treat it and monitor it. And then you review it. So the question asks you, what process should be followed when applying the risk-based approach? So once you've identified what is a risk-based approach, the examiner is asking you then, as a company, how do you apply that? What's the steps you take?
Okay.
And the first part asks, what factors should be taken into account in applying a risk-based approach? So the two keywords, one is factors and one is process. Process means doing. So what are some of the factors? You said some already.
Geographical location, you have your client type,
Right.
you have your products and services.
Mhm. So what are the factors?
So you the nature, probably the nature of the customer's business, the frequency of their activity, whether they're PEP or not. That's a factor. Also pattern of account activity could be a factor as well.
Okay.
Also, there may be some unwillingness of a customer to cooperate with the company's due diligence process. That could be a factor as well. They probably refuse to disclose certain things, but yet they want to do business with the company.
Mhm.
That's probably.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think Ebony. I thought Ebony was speaking. Sorry.
Mm-mm-mm, mm-mm.
No,
Um,
Ebony talking.
One thing you need to look at, like I was telling you earlier, is other jurisdictions have guidances with more explanation than ours, such as the Jersey guidance. But there are other jurisdictions similar to ours. And you'd see a lot of the questions that the examiner asks, they've already been laid out by other jurisdictions. So that's why I'm encouraging you to read the footnotes. You need to read those supplemental documents that they refer to.
So when you say to look at what they, oh, hello?
Yeah, something happened just now.
Oh, so you're saying to look at the Jersey guidance.
That's one. There's more.
Okay, because I thought it was specific to like a firm in our country, but
And
okay,
the Jersey is that's for the financial sector.
okay, all
Yeah.
right. So would you also, one of the factors would you also look at, because I was thinking when you look at products, you would also look at delivery channels, like how those products are delivered, because some delivery channels could pose a higher risk.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, like if you have international clients and everything is done via email or this or whatever, and you hardly see the person in person.
Yeah, I just stumbled across a very good document. Let me see, what's this? I'm trying to see which jurisdiction it says. Guernsey. Guernsey. Financial Services Commission. They have a document on the risk-based approach.
Could you repeat that, please? What's the name of it?
Guernsey. Guernsey. Financial Services Commission. They have a document on the risk-based approach.
Ms. Archer, are there any jurisdictions I guess in the Caribbean, which is very comparable to the Bahamas, where they have some really good guidance. Like the Cayman Islands, maybe, or Bermuda or something like that.
Yeah, you could try Cayman.
Okay.
Depends on what sector.
Sorry?
What sector?
I most likely I'll be writing on the trust sector.
Trust?
Yes.
I know Guernsey and Jersey have trust.
Okay.
You could see if they mention it. Cayman may have something too.
Okay. All right. So it just really depends on the the industry that you are going to be focusing on. Will be based on, well, you'll determine which jurisdiction you'll look at in terms of the reading itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's comparable to what you do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I need you to take a stab now at A2.
Hi, Ms. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I came in a little later when you were talking to the class about not submitting. I too also didn't submit. I was ill for the entire week. I just really managed to gather myself to attend class tonight. So if it's possible tomorrow, can I submit 1 and 2? Because I started working on 1 today, but didn't get to finish it in time to submit.
Okay, all right. Don't send them together.
Okay, separately.
Yeah, send them separately.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I think I've given you enough to answer A2, and we'll be finished with chapter 8. Do we have any questions? Yes, no?
Any idea on any suggestions on a comparable jurisdiction for banking?
Oh, you have many.
Would Cayman be one of those?
Yeah, you could use Cayman, you could use Jersey, you could use Guernsey, you could do Hong Kong, you could do Singapore. Lots of jurisdictions, yeah.
Okay.
But remember,
writing, but specifying the comparison with these particular jurisdictions, right?
yeah.
Okay.
It has to be similar in terms of sector and the products and services being offered.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And see also if you could refer to some of these FATF money laundering documents that they've noted at the bottom.
Say
If
it
you
again for me, please. I didn't hear you.
The footnotes at the bottom, some of these FATF documents on money laundering. See if you could include some of those in your bibliography. And anybody in wealth management at all? Anyone in wealth? In an offshore bank? Because if you are, then you would use the Wolfsburg guidance on risk-based approach.
What about commercial? Sorry, Felicia.
That's okay.
Domestic banks?
Yes, ma'am.
The only thing you can possibly use is just the general FATF documents. There's nothing really specific to domestic banks.
I was gonna say, because I'm in an accounting firm, so where does that fall?
An accounting firm, and you service what clients? Banking clients, insurance clients, who are your clients?
Everything really, because like I do auditing of financial statements, and stuff. Oh my God, my legs. So I do government. I haven't done, oh yeah, offshore banks and wealth management and stuff like that.
Okay.
Different companies, liquor stores, everything.
Is your accounting firm regulated by the Compliance Commission?
That I don't know, you know.
From an AML perspective?
That I don't know, because even my accounting firm, like, ain't really too much AML CFT concerns, really.
Okay.
I think they might be regulated as a financial corporate service provider, maybe, or corporate service provider.
Okay, so.
It may be under FCSP.
So, right, so if you have an FCSP license, then you would fall under, for AML purposes, you would fall under the Compliance Commission.
So Ms. Archer, I'm in private banking, so I'd be able to use the Wolfberg questionnaire, correct? If I use my firm.
Wolfberg guidance.
Okay.
Use that along with the FATF documents.
All right, thanks.
Ms. Archer, what about legal?
What about it? You mean if you work in a law firm? Then you fall under the Compliance Commission.
And what about comparative?
Let me see, I think it's just the FATF. Because this is so narrow on risk-based approach, I can see if I can find anything else for the next class.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have one question. What if you're just in the if you work with the regulator itself? Like, would you stick with the FATF?
Not really. You should know all. Why would you stick with just the FATF?
I was taking it, I'm also with the regulator, so I was taking it from the approach, I'll go with one of the firms that we regulate.
Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Just a tip, two persons said they're not sure what who their regulator is. If you go to the websites, they should have a search engine there. I know the Securities Commission does, and you should be able to pull up the list of all of the firms and companies based on a different category of licenses. And I'm thinking accounting, we do have some accounting firms and law offices that are registered under the FCSP, because the Securities Commission, we regulate the financial and corporate service providers firms. So you can go there and do a search to see if your firm is listed. I'm thinking the other regulators probably would have that as well.
Yeah, the central bank will have the list of all of its registrants under the list of banks and trust companies. And
Right.
same thing for the insurance by sector.
Thank you.
Okay. So how everybody's feeling now? Better?
Like, I still have a lot of work to do. Better, yeah.
Hold on. And when we had the first class last week, you all weren't even ready to start.
You ever see?
Y'all were not ready to start.
The anxiety is real on my end. I was just thinking about the grades that are about to be out in 2 weeks, and then still have to prepare for assignment too.
Why are you worried about grades? That is finished. You can't pull that back. You can't change that. That's done. So stop worrying about those grades. That's finished.
Well, I feel confident. You provided some excellent insight Ms. Archer. Those are some good pointers. I didn't even know about the Jersey. I pulled it up just now, and it's quite extensive, but
Yes, it is.
but it looks helpful.
Yes, it is. It is quite helpful, and if you're mindful, save it. It's updated regularly, and when you go into the profession, it's a very good document to refer to. Now, part B is actually chapter 11. So what we're going to do is, for next class, we're going to look at unit 9. And then after that, we will do 10. So even though they're not a part of the questions, what is assignment 3? What topics is assignment 3 on? Because normally on the last assignment, it covers everything.
I honestly haven't looked at it as yet.
I haven't looked at assignment 3 either.
I pulled it up right now.
Just to get a general idea.
Okay, it's opening. Page 2, special event provided. Okay, so question. Alex, let me zoom in. Oh, this is the one where you have to act as if you're the compliance officer.
Okay, and they give you like a long scenario.
Right.
Okay.
For this, so it's AML related. It's for the firm.
Okay, so then you're putting on the hardest if you know this whole manual. Yeah. All right, so any more questions?
I have a question that is a little unrelated. Will you be also teaching us for the period running until the 3rd assignment? Or do you bring
Not.
No? Okay.
No. Did you look on your schedule?
I kind of thought it did.
Oh, Miss Archer.
Did you look? Did you look? Look first.
Miss Archer?
Yes, I'm listening.
I don't understand this because I'm reading it now, and there's a big thing on the front page that says the specimen paper has been provided to exemplify the format of assessment and the nature of questions used in the live assessment for this program. This specimen paper should not be answered or submitted as part of the assessment for this program. Any candidate assignments that answer the specimen paper will not be marked, and candidates will receive a mark of 0 for their assignment. The papers, you said, would I read it?
Yeah, what are you reading?
Page 2, this thing would say assignment 3, so I lost now. It said the papers to be answered.
That's a sample assignment. It's the next one.
I only click on only one option was there. Let me see. Let me go back again.
You don't want to word that says specimen.
Assignment. So, it was further down. Okay, that's why I stopped. I was like, oh, wait now. So let me see what this. Okay, so number 3 is. Okay, yeah. So it still is. You had an AML at a firm. So that one was the specimen one where you're the compliance officer. This one,
okay.
it's, yeah. Okay.
No, you have Miss Bullet. She will take you through the assignment 3. So once we have finished, our class ends on May 26th. You send in your assignment on the 13th of June, and then you don't have class again until August 25th. So that gives you enough time in between to start reading these chapters, 13 through 18.
And 13 hefty, I think that was like 128 pages or something like that.
Yeah, that's on customer due diligence. Yeah. So next week, we'll have a discussion on the AML CFD governance framework. It may come in useful in doing, if someone could, they could send me assignment 3. Let me just see if it's relevant to this chapter. Then whoever send their paper first could send me the assignment. But B is very easy on the assignment 2. It's not difficult. You all have gone very quiet.
We here.
I'm here.
Yeah, we just listening, taking note.
We're thinking about these assignments.
Yeah, I find
I
these
think it.
questions more, I guess, practical as opposed to, I guess, the last assignment.
Everybody keep talking about this last assignment. I can't wait for you all to get your grade.
Well, I'm just saying it seems more practical. These questions as opposed to, the last.
Send me the first one too. Let me read this first question that you all keep saying.
Well, I've already made my mind. I'm not opening because I think we're getting the grades as of May 13th. I will be sitting in my bed when I open that email at home after work, not at work.
Now, hold on now. When you open that, wherever that grade is, you're coming to class on the 19th.
Yes, I'm coming to class. I am definitely coming to class, but I can't open that at work. I might get an instant headache.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Someone send me assignment 1. Just in case. Well, guess what? If you don't do well, sometimes they send you another one to do.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So there's hope.
Yeah, there's hope.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll send you another one.
Okay.
So don't die. But your aim is to try to pass all 3.
Yes, that's my goal.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next session after these first 3 sections, I guess, will be similar, where we have a 6 weeks and then an assignment and 6 weeks and an assignment the same way?
Yeah, same way.
Okay.
But you'll be writing a different language there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes sharing assignment 1, I see.
I see, yeah. It's a different language and I never try to deceive you. It is harder.
Oh, okay. Headache again.
Okay, let me see what it says.
I don't know if I want you to go over this because I might get more headache when you say things.
No, I'm not going to say anything. No, I'm not making any comments. I just want to read it because you all are so worried.
Right, I was about to say this is in the past.
Okay, so A is easy.
No.
Yes, it was.
Okay. I think A was the one we struggled. A lot of us had more questions regarding.
Why?
Just didn't know which approach to take. I think that because it was our first assignment, none of us knew exactly what was expected of us. And so we didn't know which route to take, which approach to take. And I think that's why the anxiety is there so much for the grades. So we'll have an idea, okay, we were on the right track, we were way out left field, and then we'll know how to bring it in.
How did you approach it?
I don't even remember.
Oh, God.
I will have to pull up my paper, honestly. And my phone is being used by a 2-year-old right now.
No one could remember how they approach A?
I'm honestly, oh gosh, I'm trying to.
I have it saved.
Okay, how you approach it?
It's on my laptop. I don't have my laptop. That's why.
David has this on. He's gonna say how he approach it.
She was telling.
I just gave a definition first of terrorism, well, according to FBI.gov. And then I went from there, I went into the Bahamas. So that's how I approached that. You know, I said here in the Bahamas, however, there have been no documented reports of terrorist financing or domestic terrorist incidents, and as such, a definition of terrorism is not clearly outlined in record. And then I went on to describe how the Bahamas is a highly sought after U.S. tourist destination, et cetera, and that there's always a possibility of the country becoming a potential target. Thus, I talked about the new anti-terrorism act that was passed in 2018. And I went on to discuss that.
Okay.
Right.
I'm okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was about to say that his approach and my approach was similar, but I think I put a little twist where, even though to say that it's not universally accepted, but I put a twist that even though some things that happen in our country was not categorized as terrorism based on the definition that we have on record for terrorism, it can be. For instance, the shooting at Durham Avenue, and examples of that sort, based on what happened and what was the purpose, the Burma Road riot, what was the purpose, they can be categorized.
Did that fall under the definition of terrorism under the act?
It did because, well, based on the definition that I listed, the ones that I saw, terrorism is to convince. It's an act to basically convince the government or a group of persons to act in a certain way or to refrain from doing something. And when I look at the Burma Road riot, that was an act to get the government or the leading body at that point to do something to pay equal wages and stuff like that. Now, I may be totally, of course, but that was the approach I took.
Okay, all right. But you see, the key to that question was there is no universally accepted consensus on the definition.
Yes.
So yes, you would use the Bahamas, but you also have to look at other jurisdictions.
I did.
Yeah. So that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, so B says. Okay. Oh, well, B was a giveaway. What did you write? David, what did you write?
Sorry, you said my name?
Yeah, what did you write for B?
I'd have to go back. I can't remember. 1 second.
Professional money launderers.
Let me see if I can find my essay. Let's see, 1 second. I said who professional money launderers are, because I think the question didn't say who they are, but it just said what they do.
Right.
Then I said why they're effective and what they do, because they have specialized knowledge and expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, what else? And the fact that there are, I think the FATF would have mentioned how it focuses specifically on the criminals themselves as opposed to the third parties who are the actual professional money launderers. So I focused on that, and then I focused on the methods. I would have gone into, well, focus on the digital era. So I would have focus on stuff like cryptocurrency and that stuff. Like, so I would have focused on those stuff and how they can use those different avenues to do money laundering.
Okay.
So somewhere along those lines, yeah.
Okay, right. So, because what they were looking for is for you to give them an end-to-end process on how they would launder money.
Yeah, so I would have focused on kind of more the digital, not the traditional way, obviously, because there's the traditional way, but more focusing on the digital era and how they're using, I guess, cryptocurrency
And did you provide an example?
Yes, I have examples.
Okay, of cases where they were suspected of money laundering using.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
To money launder.
Okay. So C says, using examples with which you are familiar, discuss the human cost of money laundering, explaining the potential social. Oh, y'all could have write this with your eyes closed. Okay. That one wasn't too bad. This was an easy one. Why you all worried?
I think the first question, all basically most of us had issues with the first question. But the other two questions, the part B and C, I would admit they weren't that difficult.
What was D?
Oh, what was a D?
Yes, there was a D. Analyze the role of Transparency International.
Yeah, transparency wasn't too bad because just their website alone, they provided a lot of information in terms of the positive impacts that they've had. It was just sourcing out information on some of the issues that may have been involved, or some of the, how should I say this? Because not everything about Transparency International that has come across the media has been positive. So it was just a matter of sourcing out some of the issues.
Okay, analyze the role and evaluate its achievements in the context of its objectives. We hold the powerful and corrupt to account by exposing the systems and networks that enable corruptions. We advocate for policies and build coalitions to change the status quo. That reminds me of something I read today. Very nice. I bet you all didn't see it in the paper today. It had to do with corruption. Was it today or was it yesterday? Where we have passed legislation for government procurement, but they're not using it.
What was that? I missed that. I didn't get this in the paper this week. Got you.
Yeah, they're talking about, we passed legislation for government procurement system. So one of the measures that a country will put in place for corruption is to have a procurement system, an automated one, with a legal framework. And the discussion in the papers was around, yes, the legislation is there, but they're not using it. Government is not using it. And the argument was that government doesn't have to use it because it has the power to assign contracts without going through it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that wasn't bad at all.
So what grade do you think we should have gotten based on you now seeing the question?
Well, this is easy. You all should have passed. I don't see why. If anyone did not pass, you deserve a spanking.
Pass is what? 60%?
40%, I think. 40.
40.
40.
40%. Okay.
Yes, 40 is hard to get.
Okay. I think we all got at least 60.
Yeah, what is hard to get. So it sounds as if if everybody was on that run, it depends on how you write it too now, don't forget. And if you provided some good examples, things that they don't know. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna look for A1 from a few people, and then I'd look for your A2. And then next week we will discuss Unit 9, the AML CFT governance framework.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Okay. So for those who I know work is tomorrow. I know weekends are always busy. I always encourage students, you now have another hour or so. You're ready in the frame of mind of doing classwork. Sit in front of the computer and start typing. Unless you're one of those disciplined ones and you could do it on Sunday. All right?
All
Yes,
righty.
ma'am.
Thank
you so much,
you.
Ms. Arthur.
All
Have a
right.
good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, all.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
So,
Good evening, everyone.
good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.